The wind moved gently over the dry, open land of the west. The sun was slowly going down, painting the wide sky with soft orange and golden colors. Horses moved quietly near the edge of the field, their shadows long in the evening light. In the distance, the sound of a train could be heard, faint and slow, reminding everyone that the world was changing. But here in the heart of the old country, life still had the rhythm of the land, the cattle, and the people who made their homes there. Not far from the dusty road stood a tall wooden fence, and beyond it, a ranch house with a warm yellow light shining through its window. Inside, the sound of country music played softly from a small radio. This was a place where the world moved slower, where trust and hard work still meant something. And it was here that one young woman's story quietly began to change. Her name was Ayanna, a young Apache girl with calm brown eyes that carried both hope and sadness. She had walked a long way, her boots covered in dust, her hands holding a small leather bag, the only thing she owned. The wind touched her long black hair, which was braided carefully. She didn't look weak, but her steps showed that she had traveled for many miles. She was not running from something terrible. She was simply trying to find a place where she could belong. Ayanna had lived in many camps and small towns since she was little. She had seen men come and go, promising things and then disappearing. People liked her smile and her quiet strength, but no one had ever stayed. She was used to hearing kind words that meant nothing. Over time, she had learned not to believe promises so easily. That evening, she reached the ranch fence and stopped. She stood there silently for a moment, breathing in the scent of fresh hay and wood smoke. She could hear a horse neigh softly from the stable and smell the warm food cooking inside the house. Her tired body wanted rest, but her heart was unsure. She had knocked on many doors before, and most had been closed. Would this one be different? Inside the house, Samuel Carson was finishing his supper. Samuel was a quiet man, tall and strong with silver hair showing at his temples. He had spent most of his life working the ranch that his father had built. He liked simple things: strong coffee in the morning, the sound of horses breathing in the stable, the cool wind at night. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his words had weight. He had lived alone for many years, not because he disliked people, but because he had never found someone who truly stayed. His ranch hands came and went just like the seasons. And though his neighbors often visited when the evenings grew quiet, Samuel always sat by the window looking at the stars, feeling something missing that he could never explain. When he heard a soft knock on the wooden door, he frowned slightly, surprised. Few people came by after sunset. He stood, set his coffee cup down, and walked to the door. When he opened it, he saw her, small, tired, but standing straight. Her eyes met his, calm and strong, as if she was asking a question without saying a word. Samuel noticed the dust on her boots, the careful way she held her bag, and the way she didn't look away, even though she was clearly exhausted. "Evening," he said softly. She nodded, unsure of what to say. "I'm not here to cause trouble," she whispered. Her voice was soft but steady. I got nowhere to go." Samuel studied her for a moment. She was young, but not a child. There was a quiet strength in her that he respected instantly. He opened the door wider. "Come inside," he said simply. She stepped in, feeling the warmth of the house wash over her. The small living room had a big stone fireplace, a few old chairs, and a table with half-eaten supper on it. It was simple but clean and warm. She looked around quietly, holding her bag close. "You look hungry," Samuel said. "Sit down. There's food." She hesitated for a second, then slowly sat at the table. He handed her a plate with some bread, beans, and meat. She ate slowly at first, as if she wasn't sure she was allowed to take too much. Then, as the warmth returned to her face, she ate with more confidence. Samuel didn't say much. He just sat across from her, sipping his coffee, watching the wind outside the window. After a while, she looked up and spoke. "Other men left me," she said quietly. "Every time I thought I found a place, they left. Some just gave me a bed for a night, some made big promises, but in the morning they were gone. Or they wanted me gone. I don't want to be a burden." Samuel didn't look away. "This ain't a place where people come and go," he said after a long pause. "This land's hard. Life's not easy here. But if you're willing to work, to stay honest, there's always room for someone who wants to belong." Her eyes softened. She wasn't sure if she believed him, but there was something different in the way he said it. No empty promises. Just simple truth. "I can work," she said quickly. "I can cook, clean, help with the horses." "I'm not lazy," he nodded. "I believe you." That night, Samuel showed her the small room near the kitchen. It had a bed, a blanket, and a window looking out over the open field. To someone else, it might have seemed too simple, but to Ayanna, it felt like a real place to rest. She set her bag down and sat on the bed, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. Outside, the moon was rising. The horses shifted in their stalls, and the sound of the wind moved softly through the fence posts. Samuel stood on the porch looking out into the night. He didn't know why exactly he had opened the door to her. Maybe it was the way she stood proud but tired. Maybe it was the way she looked at the land, like she understood it. But deep down he knew that the ranch felt a little less empty tonight. Over the next few days, Ayanna moved through the ranch as if she had always known it. She woke early, helped in the kitchen, cleaned the stables, and spoke gently to the horses. She didn't talk much, but her actions spoke for her. Samuel noticed the quiet care she gave to everything she touched. She was not just passing through. She was trying to build something. One morning, as the sky turned pink, Samuel saw her standing by the fence looking out at the hills. She stood still, breathing in the fresh air, her braid moving in the wind. He walked up beside her without a word. "This place," she said softly. "It feels different." He nodded. "It's home," he replied. She didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. Something quiet and real was growing in that space between them. Not love, not yet, but something stronger than all the promises others had given her. Trust. Even when the neighbors came by and whispered questions, "Who's the girl? Where did she come from?" Samuel didn't. The seasons began to change over the ranch. The warm summer air slowly turned cooler, and the golden fields became soft with autumn colors. The mornings carried a quiet mist, and the horses moved slowly through it, their breath rising like smoke in the crisp air. Life on the ranch moved with the land, steady, honest, and full of small, meaningful moments. Ayanna had now been living at Samuel Carson's ranch for many months. Each day she woke early to the soft call of the roosters, tied her hair into a neat braid, and stepped out to start the day's work. At first she had been unsure, like a guest who did not know how long she would be welcome. But now she moved around the ranch with quiet confidence. She had learned where every bucket was kept, which horse liked sugar cubes, and how to fix a broken fence without asking for help. Samuel often watched her from a distance. He saw the way she fed the animals with care, how she always took time to brush their coats, and how she laughed softly when the young colts followed her around like children. It wasn't a loud kind of laughter. It was soft, like music carried away by the wind. One chilly morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Samuel walked to the barn to find her already there, humming softly as she worked. The soft golden light wrapped around her as she brushed one of the horses. For a moment, Samuel simply stood there, realizing how much the ranch had changed since the day she had arrived. It no longer felt like a place filled only with work and silence. Now it had a heartbeat. She noticed him and smiled. "Morning," she said. "Morning," he replied with a small nod, hiding a smile of his own. As the days turned colder, Ayanna and Samuel grew closer, not through big promises, but through quiet, honest moments. They fixed fences together, shared hot coffee by the fire, and rode horses out to check the far fields. She would talk about the stars, and he would tell stories of how the land looked before the train tracks came. One evening, after finishing the day's work, Samuel lit the small lamp on the porch, and they sat side by side. The sky above was full of stars. It was a clear night, and the cool air carried the scent of fresh hay. "When I first came here," Ayanna said softly, "I thought I'd leave in a few days. I didn't think anyone would want me to stay." Samuel didn't answer right away. He leaned back in his chair, listening to the distant sound of an owl. "This land has a way of showing who belongs," he finally said. "You didn't just stay, Ayanna. You became part of it." Her eyes softened at his words. No one had ever said something like that to her before. She spent more time outside now, planting small flowers near the porch, arranging the kitchen, adding little touches of warmth to the house. It wasn't just a ranch anymore. It was starting to feel like a home. And Samuel, who had lived alone for so many years, found himself looking forward to each day in a way he hadn't felt in a very long time. But the world beyond the ranch still moved, and it had a way of testing people's hearts. As the autumn winds grew stronger, news traveled fast in the small towns around. People began to talk, Not with bad words, but with curious ones. Some wondered why a young woman was living on an old ranch with a quiet man. Others simply made up stories because they had nothing better to do. One afternoon, while Ayanna was in town buying flour and sugar, she heard two women whispering behind her at the store. "Isn't that the girl living with Samuel Carson?" one asked softly. "Yes," the other replied. "Strange, isn't it? No one really knows where she came from." Ayanna didn't turn around. She kept her back straight and her head high. She had heard whispers like this before in other places. In the past, those whispers had pushed her away. But now something inside her was different. She no longer felt like someone passing through. She felt like someone who belonged. When she returned to the ranch, Samuel noticed something in her eyes. "Town folks talking?" he asked gently. She nodded. "It doesn't matter. I know what I've built here. I know what this place means to me." Samuel gave a quiet smile. "That's what matters." The winter came slowly, covering the fields with a soft blanket of frost. The nights grew longer and the stars shone even brighter. Inside the ranch house, the fireplace crackled warmly, filling the rooms with a soft golden light. Samuel and Ayanna spent evenings drinking hot tea, listening to the wind outside. During those long winter nights, Ayanna began to tell Samuel more about her past. Not everything at once, but little pieces. She told him about the camp she lived in, about the faces that came and went, and about the many promises that were made to her but never kept. She spoke softly, as if those memories were fragile glass. Samuel didn't interrupt. He listened quietly, his eyes steady, as if every word she said mattered. And in that silence, Ayanna found something she had never truly felt before: understanding. One evening, after a long day, Ayanna stood at the porch, watching the snowflakes fall gently over the land. She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders, feeling the cool wind on her face. Samuel joined her, standing beside her without a word. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It is," he said. For a long moment they stood there quietly, listening to the soft sounds of the night. Then in a calm and honest voice, Samuel said, "This ranch was my father's dream. I've kept it going for years, but for a long time it felt empty. Then you came along and it's not empty anymore." Ayanna turned to him, her eyes shining softly in the light from the porch. "I never thought I'd hear something like that," she said. He looked at her, his expression gentle. "You've made this place feel like home." The winter slowly melted into spring. The fields turned green again. The horses ran more freely and the wind carried the scent of wildflowers. People in town eventually grew used to seeing Ayanna with Samuel. They saw her at the general store, at the market, sometimes riding into town on a horse with her braid dancing in the wind. Slowly, the whispers turned into polite nods. Ayanna was no longer the girl who had nowhere to go. She was the woman who helped run the Carson Ranch, a place that had grown stronger because of her quiet strength and gentle heart. Samuel often told her, "It's not the land that makes a home. It's the people." She would smile softly when he said that, because now she understood exactly what it meant. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned golden, Ayanna sat on the fence near the horses, watching them graze. Samuel walked up and leaned beside her. "You ever think about leaving again?" he asked quietly. She shook her head slowly. "No, not anymore. I don't want to keep running. I want to stay right here." He nodded, a calm look in his eyes. "Then stay." The world around them was still simple, no big cities, no loud noises, no grand riches. But it was steady and real, and sometimes that was more than enough. Ayanna's story wasn't one of sudden miracles. It was a story of quiet change, of finding a place to belong after being lost for a long time. She didn't need fancy promises anymore. She had found something stronger: trust, peace, and the warmth of home. And so, when the wind moved across the open fields at night, and the stars looked down from the clear western sky, Ayanna no longer felt alone. She was part of the land, part of the ranch, and part of a story that would live quietly like a soft song carried by the wind.